right, let's preview Ohio State versus Michigan. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because we are fastly closing in on 119,000 subscribers. It'd be great to have you join us. And I know I said preview at the start, but this is a prediction show for which I will give you some predictions here at the end. Let me put my bifocals on right quick. Okay, yeah, we good. So let's start with, what does Ryan Day and Ohio State have to do to get a win at Michigan? Because it is kind of wild, the ride that Ohio State has been on, particularly in this game, given how good they have been against literally everybody else they have played. And at the top of the list for me is play to the level of your talent and coach to the level of your talent. Because this year, like most years, but especially this year, Ohio State has the roster advantage in talent. Now, if you're a Michigan fan, you're watching this, you're going, hey, man, that's been true the last 3 years. It hasn't mattered. Okay, 2 of those years are Connor Stallions. And yes, I'm never not going to say it, and neither is an Ohio State fan. And frankly, neither is any other college football fan not a Michigan fan because, well, we hate that you did it. We don't like that you did it. And the only way that we can ensure that you don't do it again is we continue to remind you about what you did till such time as we change the rules. Kind of like Tattoo Gate, right? Selling gold pants for tattoos seems quaint now in the name, image, and likeness era. But because we changed the rules, we don't talk about it that much anymore. So play to the level of your talent, coach to the level of your talent. There are only 3 positions, I think, where Michigan ought to feel good about a talent advantage, right? Position groups, if you will. We're talking about defensive tackle, cornerback, linebacker, right? And I'm sure Ohio State fans are flipping the table right now talking about, we got Cody Simons and Sonny Styles at linebacker. Yes, I know. But if you're a Michigan fan and you want to feel like you have an advantage, all right, Hausman is kind of that dude, right? To say nothing of whether or not Will Johnson can go, if he's going to be that dude. And Josiah Stewart, I think, is one of the great defensive players in the sport. But that's about it. Like, that's it. At quarterback, there's a marketable, just a mark advantage for Ohio State. At running back, same difference. It's like we got Donovan Edwards, who ain't been nobody except in this game, which we can talk about, but, and Khalil Mullins. Quinshawn Judkins, Travion Henderson, it's a little bit different. Same thing with James Peoples, right? Wide receiver, it's not even a contest. It's really not, right? It's Jeremiah Smith, it's Emeka Buka, it's Carnell Tate, it's Brandon Ennis versus who? And you know what? Even if you did have wide receivers, you ain't got a quarterback that can really hit them. You're going to have to run the football, rely on that offensive line, play sound defense to have a chance to win this game. So start with that. But I think it's also worth pointing out some of the things that have been true in this game, or for both of these teams. Realize that Michigan is unranked this year going into this game. Ohio State is. Ohio State has won 54 consecutive games against ranked opponents. 54. The last time that Ohio State lost to an unranked opponent was actually September 6, 2014 against Virginia Tech, and they won the national championship that year. So you got to take it back to 2011 for the last time that the Buckeyes lost multiple games in the Big Ten, in Big Ten play, in the regular season. Oregon's already got that one win that it seems that Ohio State's just going to give no matter what's going on to somebody. This year is Oregon. Last year is Michigan, right? Hold on to the ball, because the team that has won the turnover margin in this game has won 8 out of the last 9. So don't throw the ball to other people. Don't put the ball on the floor. Don't give it to other people. And I mentioned earlier, just kind of wild, just how bad Ohio State has been, against Michigan, and how great they've been against everybody else. So 43-4 against everybody else, and 0-3 against the team up north. I just think that's funny. And I think you should think that's funny. But I also think that's, it's a thing to bear in mind if you're a Michigan fan. We own Ohio State. Who's to say the contrary at this point, right? You got to take it back to 2019 for the last time that Ohio State beat Michigan. And yes, it has been 5 years. I don't care that you want to point out to me that Ohio State and Michigan have played just 3 times since 2019. I don't care. The number is the number. It's been 5 years. We lived through COVID. You lived through COVID. Just because Michigan didn't play in 2020 doesn't mean that we don't act like the years don't count. Now, the contest, sure. But the fact of the matter is, Ohio State doesn't have a win. Okay? If they don't play, Ohio State can't win. I'm not going to litigate this much further because you're being obtuse for the sake of being obtuse. Just call it like it is, right? Half of y'all think this is an Ohio State channel anyway, You know what I'm saying? So, like, what do I look like over here? The other thing that I think to notice here is Bryce Underwood is probably going to be having a lot to say about this roster and what it should look like going forward, what kind of dudes you want to play with. And if you are Michigan, you are also going to be thinking about, okay, this has got to get better next year. However, the only 5-star quarterback that Michigan has had that's panned out has been J.J. McCarthy. And y'all have had your share of 5-star quarterbacks that you have turned into nothing. You know, like Shea Patterson was a great blue chip quarterback. Joe Milton needed to go to Tennessee before he could become who he needed to be. On and down it goes, right? Other thing about Donovan Edwards here is I just think Donovan Edwards is Alex Orji. You know, like if Alex Orji had to play running back, he'd probably be a little bit better than he is as quarterback. Not better than Donovan Edwards, but I would love to see that 1-2 punch. We're just not going to see it. Also going to remind you that Michigan's pass defense is not bad. It's just not great. It's like 72nd in the country, giving up just over 220 yards passing per game. But I also am looking at this from the standpoint of, are you going to be able to contain Emeka Egbuka and Jeremiah Smith? No, probably not if you're Michigan. Jeremiah Smith is having one of those true freshman seasons of true freshman seasons. He needs 101 yards to get to 1,000 yards receiving. That's ridiculous. He's already leading the team in catches. And Emeka Egbuka was the most versatile player in the sport until Travis Hunter showed up. And that's just 1-2, right? They go deep at 3-4, you know, and that offensive line that a lot of folks, myself included, had questions about has acquitted itself well. They moved Donovan Jackson out to left tackle, and it has worked. They lost Seth McLaughlin in the middle. It's fine. Hinzman is the dude once again. I think as out on the offensive line and the offensive line coaching as Ohio State fans were at the beginning of the year, they probably have a begrudging respect for what they've been able to do given the circumstances. But even if that weren't true, you still have great pass rushers in Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau. Caleb Downs is a pterodactyl. I think he's going to win the Thorpe Award, but that's only because Travis Hunter is not one of the 3 finalists, which I think is ridiculous. I could not be more embarrassed, man. I really can't. Especially when you look around, you see that the man is up for the Bednarik Award, which is for the best defensive player in the country, and the Biletnikoff Award, which is for the best wide receiver in the country, to name just 2. And he's going to walk out with the Paul Hornung Award again. I don't know. I can't make people understand that fat meat is greasy, you know? And now you got Prime talking about, fine, I'll give him my Thorpe Award. That's not the look you want if you're the Thorpe Award. And I've talked about this. I don't need to go on about it, but it is to say that Caleb Downs, I think, is going to win that thing because he's that good. I think when we talk about what does Michigan do to win this game, you lean on your principles, such as they are. It's also a must-win game for Sherrone Moore. Is it more of a must-win game for Ryan Day? Sure. I can get there. But Sherrone Moore is one win away from joining Lloyd Carr, fielding Yost, and getting off to a 2-0 start in his first 2 opportunities as acting head coach, to beat Ohio State. That's wild because Bo Schembechler didn't even do that, right? Jim Harbaugh didn't even do that. On the other hand, he's very close to locking in one of the 3 worst opening seasons for a Michigan coach in 100 years with a loss here. Like, his winning percentage is 54.5%. Rich Rod was not that much better, right? And we got to take it all the way back to the 1950s to sign somebody who was absolutely bad at this. But also in there haven't been that many opportunities to be a head coach at Michigan or Ohio State because the guy that gets that job usually stays in that job for a while. However, I think it is worth pointing out that Ryan Day is one of just 4 coaches who have coached more than 50 games as head coach at Ohio State, won at least 76% of those games to not win a national championship. Okay, Urban at the top of the list, right? 88% win percentage, national championship. Jim Tressel, 82.8, national championship. Woody, 76.1, 5 national championships. Ryan Day needs a national championship to solidify himself in that hierarchy, and I think that's what this year is about. We have talked about the $20 million that they spent on the roster. There are Buckeye fans that somehow think that it's fun to talk about how most of that money went to guys coming back because they had to come back, because they haven't beaten Michigan, because they haven't won a Big Ten championship. I don't know that I'd be crowing about that the way that you be crowing about that, but it's also the reason you bring in Will Howard and Quinshon Judkins and Caleb Downs. It's why you go all in on making sure that Jeremiah Smith is happy. I don't know if y'all remember this, but Ryan Day was buckling at the knees once he found out that he signed his financial aid agreement. And look at what that's turned out to be. So now we're at the part where I got to make a prediction. I think it's Ohio State. I think it's Ohio State by a lot. I'm going to go 45-10 because Ohio State has two things going for it. One, they're out for blood. And two, they need to be out for blood. If you don't dunk on Michigan, you might lose to Oregon and they might not put you in the college football playoff, right? But if you lose a close game to Michigan and you lose to Oregon, they're not going to put you in the college football playoff. This committee has only seen bias for Boise State and SEC. You need to leave no doubt. And that's exactly what they want to do. So if Ohio State has the opportunity to put up 100 points in this game, I'm telling you, they're going to put up 100 points in this game. And if they could make sure that Michigan scores a negative number, they would do that too. But I'm going to be conservative and say 45-10 Buckeyes. Let me know what you think about your score prediction. Comments below.